5 months.
To do what?
Since we've done this.
5 months?
Yes, 5 months.
Has it really?
It's
Didn't we do one?
Well, we did one, but it was like a half hour.
Mm.
Oh, I should probably put it on. I'm sorry. I was like showing everyone your pin. It's totally interesting.
What?
Your pin here.
Oh.
It was like turning off the ringer and everything.
Yeah.
Hello. How are you doing?
Who? Me?
You. Yes.
I'm doing fine.
Hi.
Oh, is it on?
Yes, we're live. Yeah.
Yay.
Sorry. Yay. So.
What's up?
With me?
Mm-hmm.
No. Caitlin says,
oh,
hey guys.
That was
I'm
my
sorry.
head. Caitlin?
Yes, Caitlin Spadnick.
Oh, hi.
It's a panic.
Hello.
Yes. What are you drawing? Someone asks.
Uh,
Survival
okay.
dreams.
So
Anyway.
it started. This was my original sketch, right?
Yes.
In my little moleskin storyboard book, and then I did a rough, like a drawing exploration, which I like some things about. It's obviously not the same thing exactly, but I never really pay that much attention to doing it exactly the same.
It is kind of dark.
Is it?
Yes.
Oh. Is that better? Not really. It's just a dark room.
It's a dark room. You're dark by the spot.
Yeah.
Oh, that's because it's so bright over there.
I don't really need much light, but
All right.
so and then it went from this to the actual painting that I laid out right here, which is what I'm actually working on. And I started playing with the idea of the other space, because when I was I used a Mr. Clean Magic Eraser to erase some stuff, and it made like a tinted area.
Yes.
And it made me start thinking about fabric and stuff. So I started thinking of how I would place fabric around.
Wait, leave it there. You can't see it in there.
You can
at
barely
all.
see it, yeah.
But that shows you what. I like that hand.
Yeah. Thanks.
And you transfer that, right?
And now, I'm basically
playing with the cloth.
drawing over the loose lines and figuring out what on a piece of vellum, what tight lines would look like.
Gotcha.
And I'm still not trying to be too tight with it, because I might end up shooting reference for cloth for it. So if I get close enough though with what if I like what I make up, then I'll use that. But if I don't like it, then sometimes I'll just I'll shoot reference for it to see what the difference is and
gotcha.
what I need to add to it or whatever. But
people are asking questions, but asking if we're back to our Saturday night live stream.
Is it? Oh, it is Saturday.
It is Saturday night.
Well,
that's how we're dealing with the lockdown. No one else knows what day it is but me.
We might as well be.
Yes.
I mean, we should.
Yes.
Since we can't really.
Yes.
This is probably the best way to
communicate with people.
To communicate and get stuff out in terms of
say hello to people.
Yeah, saying hello and just
say they're waving and saying hi.
Oh, hello.
What pencil are you using? Is that
This is a 6B Tombow Mono 100.
Put that under the light there, please.
Yeah, it's a 6B Tombow Mono 100.
What? This lighting is doing something funky.
And it's just in an Alvin pencil holder. The aluminum.
There you go.
Give me it back.
He yelled at me.
First
of all, you yelled at me for just being in the backyard this week.
You were hauling stuff across the backyard.
I was not.
Yes, you were.
Not totally.
Let's bring the kids in and ask them the truth.
Not actually.
Yes,
all
actually.
the way. A little.
You were hauling a fire pit cover across the yard, and you were still recovering. Your foot's still recovering, so you're not allowed.
Okay. Hello from Hong Kong.
Oh, hello, Hong Kong.
Someone was asking how we were doing with the lockdown.
How are we doing? Well, it's...
You won't let me out of the house.
Well, it's not like you left the house a lot to begin with. But I mean, honestly, the strangest part, I guess, is just using stuff longer. Trying not to need groceries before a 2-week time period, because we try to go out in every 2 weeks or so.
Right.
But other than that, I mean, I pretty much didn't really get out of the house that much to begin with.
Yes. Hello from Iran and hello from Mexico.
Oh, hello, Iran and Mexico.
I know.
That's awesome.
We are in Rio de Janeiro. We're doing okay with the lockdown. We have the kids home, so they do their work.
The kids are doing, or actually, kind of, I guess you could say, the silver lining for them is that they're still doing their schoolwork, but they can do it kind of on their own schedule.
Right.
So it's not as difficult as it could be, you know. We always worked from home, so the one thing I want to mention is that I really do feel for the people who are still having to go out to work, because I mean that's got to be a difficulty that working from home we can't, we can only sympathize with, and it's and people who who are also used to making a living from home might find themselves in a financial situation that they may need help with, at some point.
Right.
And hopefully things will, will work out for that in terms of getting people.
Where we aren't in technical quarantine, but we have self-quarantined ourselves.
Well,
so.
I think our city just did a lockdown.
Yes.
Ocean Springs just did a lockdown. So.
All right, we have people asking questions.
Yep.
Not about. And hello back to everyone in Spain. Hello from Mars.
Oh,
nice.
Hello from Mars. Cool.
Let me see. It's cool that you work in so many stages. What sustains your commitment to the idea?
The thing that actually is probably the most freeing and part of this, and sometimes it's frustrating and exciting at the same time, is that I'm not actually committed to the idea. I'm committed to finding out what's supposed to be there. So when I start something, it's more of a flash of a feeling in my mind rather than a distinct image. And then I chase that feeling in the drawing and stuff until I kind of get to what I want. So if it changes, which it does quite a bit, then I'm open to that. Sometimes the idea starts off taking and then it takes an entirely right angle to the direction I thought it was going.
Right, yeah. Like you've talked about before,
yeah.
I mean, we haven't done this in like 5 months, other than that one little half-hour thing when
Right.
we were painting.
Right, but
so some people might not know how you work and stuff
right.
like that.
I definitely I'll start off sometimes with a sketch.
But this piece, this right here, is actually going to go onto your painting
Right.
down
Well,
here.
yeah. See, if I take what I've just a little bit that I've laid out here and played with, and
There you go.
start playing with it over here to kind of position it. Okay, and then I can either do a graphite transfer, or I can just redraw it once I get the idea, the way I want it. And mostly I use transfer stuff like this for compositional lines. I don't really use it for detail because it's really super boring
Always
to try to
it's a
transfer
change.
detail
Yeah.
from one thing to another. So I just end up redrawing it anyway because it looks better. It's just boring to do detailed transfer to me.
Someone asked if you'd ever drawn digitally, which
Oh yeah.
yes.
Oh yeah. I actually have designed a lot of things digitally and then taken the digital image and used it as reference for the drawing or the painting.
Right.
Or just gone digital with it for especially stuff for publication.
Someone else asked, what would you do if digital painting had the same paper texture as paper? Would you still do traditional painting?
So the other aspect of digital painting that is a little different for me is not the fact that it looks digital when you're done, but that you're always using the same stylus to do everything. You have one experience through the whole thing.
And
I
as
would
we
still
can
probably
see,
I would
look,
still
look over
probably
there, it's your
I would still
stack of
probably
stuff.
do traditional stuff even if digital work ended up looking exactly like traditional. I would still probably do traditional because I like not like. Okay, so with digital, I'm sitting there with the stylus, and whether I'm painting, drawing, sculpting, whatever I'm doing, I'm using the same stylus.
The same stylus.
Yeah. Whereas I like using different tools and picking up different things. I like the response. I guess it's the haptic feedback, the physical response of using different tools. Mm-hmm. I'm sure there are ways you could actually get something similar to that digitally too. I don't think it should be a drawback for people.
No, I mean you use digital all the time.
I do like the tangibility of a singular original. And I do see that. I find that at least right now, there are distinct differences between a digital piece done in a traditional try to be a facsimile of a traditional piece, and a traditional piece. They still have quite a lot of differences. One thing is that feedback of actually handling different materials.
Right.
But the other thing is the material itself has an input into what you do.
Right.
Right. So people thought this was coquille board when you posted it.
Oh yeah.
But it's not. It's just gessoed. It's just gessoed hardboard.
It's really hard to see any texture.
Yeah.
Oh, there it is.
Yeah. You can kind of see it down here.
Yeah.
So that feedback of the board causes like this granularity in the paint to settle. Now, maybe one day, like something, programs like Painter, they do a good job of randomizing that granularity.
Yeah, but it's not just on the piece; it's your hand that you like
touching it. Yeah, the feel of it.
No, but I'm also all the like you said, all the
the haptic response.
Tools.
Yeah, just holding a different tool for a different thing sometimes, or I don't know. It's just I've done a lot of digital work in the past, and the one thing that I started to notice was I'm using the same tool for everything, so it the ADD in me, it gets a little repetitive and kind of boring, and I like picking up different things, and that's one of the things that keeps me going.
He likes a lot of different tools.
Like I like sharpening my pencils to sometimes a chisel edge or a flat edge like that it's basically flat,
Yes.
And then drawing with that because it feels different,
You said you're an inspiration to us all.
Oh, well, I appreciate that. That's a very kind thing to say. I don't want you to get the impression that I think any less of digital stuff because of that. It's just it's just, you get what you need from what you do, right? So if you get what you need from doing digital work, there is absolutely nothing wrong with it.
Well, exactly.
But what you shouldn't do is let people tell you what you should be getting from it. That's just what I like to do. And even at that, I'm not going to. Even when I say what you shouldn't do, I take that with a grain of salt because people have to do what they have to do.
Gotcha.
But I don't like telling people this is the way you should draw. I like people telling them this is how I do it, and if you get something from it, then you can try it that way too.
Figure it out.
Yeah. I love digital work. There's a lot of stuff out there that I do like. So yeah, this guy here that does stuff that emulates kind of like charcoal stuff. That's all digital, but I really love it. And there's things about that are harder to do in traditional work.
What is your inspiration when you draw?
Usually I feel like it's mostly organic. Mostly organic stuff. And sometimes I throw my pencil at the paper, but that's it's like this is just mostly organic. So this is an oil piece, right? It's finished in oil, but it started off very much like that. So they're kind of in the same visual aesthetic world, kind of. But this started off as an acrylic underpainting that I then sealed with like I think a matte medium, and then I oil painted over it, and so I could push some of the edges in and out of the black and stuff. I've been having a lot of fun with that lately.
Oh yeah.
I've done like 4 or 5 of these.
Yeah, 2 of them are on the way to Australia.
My allergies are acting up today.
Oh yes.
So.
Any shows you've been watching during quarantine?
Well,
apparently,
it's right there.
Supernatural.
You can see Supernatural up on the board.
Andy's been playing Borderlands.
And over there on my I'm fighting one of the twins right now in Borderlands 3. So this is my first run through it, though.
It's true, yes.
Playing flak. So I like the sniper class stuff. But anyway, that's neither here nor there. Okay, I'm done.
No, we're not done.
I'm just kidding.
We're not done.
So on my desk, I normally keep these little 2-ounce color cups. This is the acrylic gouache. This is actually.
Someone was asking if you'd ever use gouache. This is acrylic
This
gouache.
is acrylic gouache, which is
doesn't act like regular gouache.
No, it acts more like kind of it's acrylic paint. Acrylic gouache is a weird name to call it because it sort of comes in a very concentrated form like gouache does. It's very opaque and it builds up. But once it's dry, it's permanent, like acrylic. You can't move it around again like you could with gouache.
And that's all you've used with her, right?
This is just this so far.
Gotcha.
I did a very very light underdrawing, which is roughly not much more than what you see here.
Oh, this is open.
Oh, it is.
Please close that. Travis Louis said, "Hello, my brother."
Hello, Travis. How are you doing, man?
Good evening.
Good evening. So this is what the actual little underdrawing looks like. It's very coloring book. It's just outlines and stuff. But like I said, sometimes I'll go ahead and explore things just to get it out of my system. Like here with this, which I didn't really enjoy the face of this at all. The human face didn't sit well with it. Plus, it's not positioned well. So when I started redrawing it, in here, I kept the parts of it that I liked, and I actually got to a point where I had most of another face in, and I didn't like it, so I just took the Mr. Clean Magic Eraser and made it a little bit wet and erased it, because you can erase acrylics on a board.
I'll post
I have a little video that shows it.
I'll post the video up.
But I kept some of the stuff that I liked about this and changed a lot of it.
Well,
you
this whole, you erased this whole hand.
her whole hand was done a different way.
Yeah.
In paint, and then I just erased it with the magic eraser stuff, and redrew it the way that I wanted it. I wanted it to be more like a dead spider, kind of curled in on itself.
Like a dead spider. Someone asked, any advice on transferring from drawing with instruments to freehand?
Well, there's a certain point when you're drawing with stylus that it's still it's still like you would be using a pencil, right?
Right.
Except that the levels of adjustment of variability in the line are a lot more sensitive with your hand, right? Because you have an infinite number of pressure sensitivities with your hand, right?
Right.
So I would if you're going from digital to traditional, I mean, you could start with drawing, or you could just, what's interesting is that when I did notice this was that painting, if you have a little tiny bit of lag in your brush in digital, it's not unlike a brush with a long flag when you paint, because you're drawing like a little bit ahead of the line that you're making, right? Mm-hmm. So you might find that actually is a little more natural to you than you would expect.
Now, someone said they didn't know acrylics could be erased, but this is not paper.
This isn't paper.
It's board, and it's a gessoed board.
I gessoed this board,
so
it does have
won't erase on the paper.
It has a sturdy surface, and you have to use the Mr. Clean sponges. Let me see.
That's what I have.
Like these, right? They come in like little squares. You can get them at grocery stores, and then you get it a little bit wet, and you just scrub it out, right? But you have to be careful, because if you scrub too hard, what you'll end up doing is abrading you'll take that all the way down to the board, because it'll take off the plastic.
Well, you can see it's a little smoother right now.
Yeah, this will even work on I think it'll even work on thin oils. It works on a lot of stuff actually, and you can actually use it on on graphite if it's on board, and it'll just polish off the graphite. If I it doesn't work if it's not wet.
Okay.
But on graphite, really super smooth graphite board, it will definitely take up an area.
This board is just a gessoed board, but you added your own gesso.
It was a clay board, but I didn't want the clay surface, so I gessoed over it.
Yes, and you don't brush the gesso on, he sponges it on.
I use a round sponge, and I basically do this kind of tamping routine to get tooth across the entire board, and then I'll lightly sand it to knock off the points.
It's on our YouTube channel. I have remember when you did the whole, I have you gessoing the board?
Yeah. Our
YouTube channel is at Alan Williams Studio.
Yeah, I spend about 30 minutes doing a coat on a board like this, gessoing across it, maybe 20. And then it'll dry, and I'll sand it a little bit, and then if it's uneven or whatever, I'll do another 20 minutes of it. But
Travis said he's surprised you aren't using electric erasers.
Oh, I do. I have these Sakura electric erasers, and then I have this one with one of the bits from my Dremel that's fitted for a 2mm eraser, so it's even smaller.
That's the regular one.
And then here's the cheap one. These are like $10. These AFMAT, which have these 2mm erasers on them as well. This isn't bad for a $10 eraser. You can get them on Amazon. And then I have different kinds of. I mean, you can even like this little bit of variation in value here to here. See, it's lighter on the hip here. Mm-hmm. I did that all with eraser on the acrylic.
Ah.
And Travis, part of that was because I was paying close attention to what you do with your acrylic stuff, and I know that you have probably the best collection of erasers in the world. And so I went on a hunt for some of these abrasive erasers that's a white pencil, but you have to be careful not to get those two mixed up. But I do have those.
Okay, I have to say you are talking way more than you have all week.
I know. Well, it's because
We've said it all.
Yeah, well, I mean, we haven't done a live feed in forever.
Like months. I know. I'm just joking with you.
There may be one over there, but I have a whole collection of those typewriter erasers, the white lead ones, the vintage ones. That's one of them, isn't it? No, that's a color pencil.
It's another color pencil.
But
they're somewhere around here.
Yeah, I have a box over there with a bunch of them in it. Here's one. Here's Faber.
Yeah.
Faber-Castell, these white erasers, and they're. Are you laughing at me?
Yes.
Yeah. But yeah, it was totally your fault. I saw you post once about it, so I went on a hunt for them. But this stuff works really good on hardboard, and you can really so let's see.
Don't do anything you don't want to do.
Right. It takes up the acrylic, but it depends on how light you want to draw with it. You can draw lightly with it, and it'll take up little bits, or you can bear down on it, and it'll take up a lot. So if I wanted to remove a lot here, see how you can lightly abrade it, and it'll take up some of the color.
Yeah.
And if I can put that back if I don't like it, so it's no big deal.
What do you use for reference for those horns and bones? You don't.
I didn't use any reference for the horns and bones, but I have horns and bones all over the house. So they're probably I've integrated a lot of that language into my subconscious,
yes,
because I have so much of it around the house.
Yes.
Like there was a box of bones on my desk here a minute ago. I think Vicky might have moved it over.
No, I haven't touched anything. It was right.
It's right over there. It's behind you. See?
I totally
Grab one of those.
Oh my god. I'm like squashed into a corner.
So I have these things that are just sitting like around, and like this is one of my favorite bones. And it's just a very
You gotta put it under the light.
kind of a graceful little piece of bone. And I didn't really have it out looking at it when I did it, because you can't. I mean, if you look at this, this isn't really represented anywhere in here, except that maybe some of the patterns and some of the surface detail made its way into different places, just because I remember seeing it.
But you call it's part of your language.
It's
what
part
you
of the
call it.
language.
You
Yeah,
just
my
get
visual
used
language.
to it.
Yeah,
It's been around so long that that's
Right.
kind of what you reference.
Right. When I work, I get like piles of stuff around me.
Yes.
So
Do you
I do have
study
these
animal
things.
skeletons to evolve your style, or
I
they
do.
just dreamed up?
No. Some of it is based on, like, you would call it comparative anatomy, I guess. I do have like cats. I have a bunch of sculptures and a bunch of representations of art, forms and stuff like that up there that I'll sometimes look at. And then I have these little anatomy tools, like these tiny little skulls that are very realistic. And these are almost always on my desk.
Under the light.
So these are almost always on my desk because they're very well done. And you could get these and keep one in your like tool bin or whatever, and have a good reference for if you were doing something with a skull on it.
Oh, thank you, Travis. Yes, the Faber-Castell erasers.
Huh? Oh, they are typewriter erasers. Yeah. And to be honest, what's funny is I don't really usually like to represent skulls as skulls as much as skull-ish. Or skull variations, like mutated skulls,
Best children's book ever.
Huh? Oh,
Ish.
what? Skull? Oh, Ish? That is. Actually, that's a book I read to my daughter about how to...
Not be so worried about.
As a tangent, if you've never heard of it, there's a book called Ish that's about the fact that when you're starting out drawing, you don't have to draw things as they are, you just draw Ish. Like you draw a skull-ish, you draw
Tree-ish.
Tree-ish. It doesn't have to be a tree, it can be tree-ish. And if you just do that with everything, then you get a lot further, a lot faster.
Yes, not so. Hello from Argentina.
Hello, Argentina.
Where did you get? Oh, the small skulls are from Anatomy Tools.
Yeah, and they have small ones like these all the way up to, like, I have a slightly larger, like I think it's a quarter size. And then they have some. I don't know if they have full size or not, but my full size skull replica came from bone clones.
Bone clones?
Yeah, and that was that's the.
I'm stuck on something. I'm sorry. I pushed myself away. Sorry, I have to have my foot up. It's fine.
Okay, are you good?
Yes.
Okay.
I'm good. Sorry.
So,
Hello from Brazil.
Hello,
Everybody's
Brazil.
from Brazil. Right?
That's cool.
And Wyoming.
Wyoming. Hello, Wyoming.
And the west coast of Canada.
So, I hope everybody's doing good.
And there's
doing well.
gnome, fairy, or pixie skulls.
No.
No.
Not as such. I mean, there are things that, sometimes I'll pick up and go, this rock is kind of skull-ish in texture. You know what I mean?
Yeah, the lines.
And that stuff makes its way into the work that I do, right? Just having this on my desk and glancing at it every now and then, I start to imprint in my mind these patterns of lines and how the highlights kind of ripple off the lines like that.
Yes.
And that stuff works its way into the piece,
Travis says, I was fearful that the skulls came from some ritual involving miniaturizing.
Well...
Hello from India and
there's
New
more to
York
be said.
City,
Yeah.
Ecuador, and from the Central Australia. Says, you are so talented and you inspire me
Well, thank you.
to perfect my sketches.
That is, thank you so much. I will say that lately, the Challenger, I used to use only these Winsor & Newton Series 7 sables, which are really good brushes, especially if you're doing anything like acrylic or watercolor.
They got super expensive.
But they've been more expensive than other brushes. But these Rosemary brushes,
The Rosemary and Company brushes.
I guess they're from the UK, are less expensive, and they hold their flag better for longer.
Put it under here, please.
And I think like a $6 Rosemary brush would be probably a $20 Winsor & Newton Series 7.
Rosemary and Company.
Yep. So
See, now what's going to happen is later on tonight, he's going to go online and make sure he
orders a bunch.
So that, because usually he'll say something and everyone will buy it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, usually the strange thing that sometimes happens is that when some tools become favorites of mine, and then suddenly nobody makes them anymore. That happened. That's happened like 2 or 3 times.
All right, back to drawing.
All right.
Hello from Colombia.
So,
the Walrus with J says everyone's going to start picking up rocks as reference now.
Well, yeah. I mean, the thing is that they're easy to come by, and you can find so much in rocks that you could transform into other things.
I mean,
you know.
But you know, I miss that we haven't done this every Saturday. All these people talking about where they're from, and everybody's kind of.
This is a digital sculpt that I did and then printed as a piece of reference. I just wanted something subtle, but that made the lines of the face a little bit more creepy than they normally are. So I made his eyes lidded as if they would open from the bottom up instead of the top down.
Yeah.
And so that's sometimes I'll make reference. I haven't used it yet. It's sitting here waiting for the right piece for when I'm ready to use it. But I do that with a lot of stuff though. I'll have like a lot of, like this piece here is another one that I printed that I started messing with and kind of painting on and everything. And it's just a kind of a stylized female form that will make its way. And I love what I really tried to mess with a little bit was to make the cracks and things in it. I purposely did all this so that it would look not purposeful, you know, so that it would look like something that had been eroded or worn, you know.
Reminds me of Warren Oates.
Who?
Warren Oates.
Oh, I don't know. I'll have to look it up. But sometimes I'll make reference like this. I'll just sit around for, I don't know, a year or two, sometimes even more before I use it. And then when I use it, it makes sense. But
Travis says from an Outer Limits episode.
Oh, okay, cool. An Outer Limits episode.
Now you're going to have to go back.
I'll have to go on. I've been rewatching a bunch of stuff lately, like I know a lot of people probably have. But
that is true.
I'm not really in the middle of drawing anything right now. I was.
How do you balance the rich, focused textures with the overall pose and gesture?
Huh. Well, and maybe just a byproduct of starting small, right? So I start small with a gestural pose because, I mean, for what it's worth, this is the same gesture. It's not super active, but it is the same gesture as this pose. And I played with line stuff, you know, and a little bit of rhythm here. So if you notice, even though the lines don't really match up, the rhythms are pretty close, except for the shoulder piece.
Oh, I like that shoulder piece.
I do. Well, I do too, and that came in later. But the rhythms are very similar. Even when I hear
pay attention to it, please.
On this smaller one, you can tell that I started dropping it off when it came down to the leg, and when I got to this one, most of the thigh area is vacant of pattern, and so it does kind of work itself out here because I can just scribble it and make the detail that way. Oh, I really do appreciate it, Travis. Thanks a lot. I'm glad you like it, and you know we love your work too. But the shapes, the thing that actually did surprise me was I had this. I thought this was the part that was the most distinct to me, and it's the part that almost changed the most in the piece.
Completely changed.
Because these horns didn't turn any out. I mean, these aren't anything like those, other than the fact that they make the big swoop here, right?
Yeah.
The shape is like completely different.
Kind of like this little bit right here.
This ridge that was on the top of this one is gone now. It was on the initial, like I started playing with it in this one, bringing that ridge back into it. But that's the nature of like you know, placeholding sketches like this. Like I have a lot of pieces in here that are placeholders, right?
I like that.
Well, thank you. That like.
Did you like do that the other day when we were sitting at the doctor's office?
Yeah. See.
That's the one that.
And sometimes I'll do it like, you know, this. You know, if you start at the beginning. So I'll do these like small things that don't have a lot of detail, but I imply the detail, right?
Someone said, "How many drafts do you do before the final work?"
Sometimes not. Sometimes none. Sometimes I'll start like this. I'll just start. You know,
and
what
that's all that you'll do.
And that's
right.
all that I do. And that's how I end up with things more like this, right? Where I just kind of started with some paint and pushed it around until shapes started emerging out of it.
Yes.
And then following them to their conclusion, until they made sense.
Right.
Other times I'll do like 2 or 3 different iterations of something. I'll basically allow myself to do what I call failing at it once or twice before I get it right. Right. So
this could have just as easily been a completely finished pencil piece.
But I got to a certain point with this, and this is probably a few hours worth of work, where I thought, okay, what I don't like about the piece and what I do like about the piece are starting to become obvious. So I can take what I've got here, and what I did was I essentially made a print of this. Let me get it. I'll show you what I did. I made a print of that image, though. I kept it.
It's going away. I'm sorry I'm not getting to everybody's questions.
Sorry. I made a print of the image, right?
Right, okay. We printed it out on your 13 by 19, right?
This is 12 by 19 paper.
Right.
And then I did an oil rub on the back.
So that's oil paint.
It's oil. This was the fast matte stuff that dries quicker.
Right.
And then I laid it on my board and took a red pen and just drew the basic lines. And
the stuff that you liked,
right.
obviously.
And if you get close to this, you can see that I wasn't terribly careful with how I drew the lines. They're not following anything, really.
Someone said, how do you decide which detail and texture is appropriate for where?
It's juggling, right? You get into it, and as it happens, if it starts to look...
Obviously, he didn't even have this anyway. Well, you did have it over here.
I had it over here and here, but if you notice, it changed over here. Like, this whole part changed and flattened out. And
flopped up.
This whole section here...
This is not a hobby. This is a full-time job for the last 30 years.
Yeah.
So he's been going.
Well, this is kind of how I iterate for concept work, too. I'll do a sketch, a light sketch, and then I'll print a light version out of it. I'll draw on top of it until I find something I want to change, and then I'll redraw it. And I'll do that 2 or 3 times to get different iterations for a concept art. So, and I just use this is actually Strathmore drawing paper that I buy loose leaf. You can get 12 by 19 sheets of this stuff.
Loose leaf. That's
loose leaf that'll run through just a normal printer, so I can print out versions of things and then play on top of them. You know, or just the other option is just to redraw it every time, which is fine too if that's what you want to do.
Yes.
And I do that too. Depends on what I like. I don't always have a printer when I'm working on site to do these things. Right. So I'll just redraw them.
We were back at your thing.
Oh yeah, we're looking at
we don't have any. We didn't have a plan tonight. Sorry, guys.
I don't have one of those sketchbooks that look like the kind of sketchbook that you would print the whole sketchbook and sell it. I have things that look like grocery notes, basically.
And like this. You know exactly what's going on there, then.
Right. This is a rearing like a horse that had a character standing on its chest, and it was called the Horsebreaker. Oh. And these were where I was coming up with different names for angelic characters: Cat, Daquel, Amanun, Ramael, and Geniel.
I like these guys here.
Yeah. These guys I've actually laid out to a higher degree, but I haven't done anything with them yet. I have them kind of laid out though. And these are
How do you know whether a piece is done or not?
Usually, I feel like a piece is done when I'm doing stuff that I'm in that last phase of it where I'm doing stuff, and people come in and they don't notice what I've done.
because he's working on.
There's a point where I'm only doing things that I will see because I get this close to it.
Yes.
And I'll still do those things, but at a certain point, it gets to a point where I can't see any way to improve it or get it or make it more of what I want it to be. So
these are your list of
this was a list of inspirational characters: is Bosch, Beksinski, Nicholas Samori, Rackham, Neardrum, Dore, Mignola, Mobius, Andrei and Olga Dugin and Dugina, Geiger, obviously. Those are just a few.
Yeah.
So.
What inspires your hooded, faceless figures? Those are some of his favorites.
I like sometimes.
Hello, West. That's West.
Oh, that's a good question. I like sometimes not including a face that you can see in the piece, because then it becomes enigmatic. It doesn't necessarily label the character as the kind of person you would expect it to be, or so one of the things that I always say is that you can't tell from looking at something if just because it looks grotesque to you doesn't necessarily mean it's evil, right?
Right.
Because in the real world, evil isn't really limited to ugly things. It's like there are very beautiful evil people in the world, and there are people who would not be normally considered beautiful who are some of the best people I've ever met. So in the work that I do, I try to, sometimes I'll leave the face off, and I know that I thought about this because I didn't know at first why I was doing it, but I was doing it so that I didn't put a distinct face on the piece so that you could make your own conclusions and project into it what you thought what it should look like.
Right. He'd also asked about the inspiration for the hidden light, which was the one with the 3 skulls. That you had that on your board for.
Yeah.
You had that bouncing around in your head for a couple months.
Mm-hmm.
And then I saw that.
When I first started it, because it just had the 3 skulls on it.
With the skull up
had,
there.
It had begun as a sort of
Can you see it up
a
there?
representation of Cerberus. This was my reference. You ask if I had reference. If anything looks photographic, I have reference for it. If it looks made up, generally speaking, I don't have reference for it. But something like this was easy enough to manufacture. You know?
Right.
And if I have a human figure that looks photorealistic, then I'm 99% sure that I use a photograph for the reference for it.
Right.
So.
But anyway.
But that was, that was my reference in that piece. I just left off the actual face of the coins on it, so I could actually remark them with symbols and stuff if I want.
Someone asked how your experience working with Tool was.
They're awesome. They so here your normal experience with anyone art directing you is they have an idea, or you submit an idea and there's a back and forth. With Tool, they just said, we want what you do for yourself, and so that's what they got, and there was no back and forth. I mean, the part that made it awesome was that I could literally just think about what I would want to do for myself and do it.
Mm-hmm.
And
be inspired by them.
And I was listening to the music. I was listening to Inoculum pretty much the whole time I was working on all that. Mm-hmm. And it, like I said, it was great.
All right, draw me something.
Well, we're not through here yet.
Oh, we're not through there yet. Okay. I don't even know what time it is. How long have we been doing this? Oh, we got 20 more minutes or so, you guys.
Sometimes I write stuff that goes with it. Sometimes I don't. Sometimes it's titles.
Sometimes it's very rough.
Sometimes this was for the Narrow Gate piece, the painting that I did for the Copro show. That was the thumbnail for it. Enter through the Narrow Gate.
Look, you can see this here, but you didn't put the other characters.
This one is here. This one is here. This one was not.
That one was not.
Yeah.
Very cool. Ooh, this is a nice skull.
So, and sometimes I'll write things that just inspire me in terms of like, this goes with the narrative one. I mean, with another piece like this one. It says, imperfect creatures living lives of subtle degradation.
Oh, right. Is it ever too late to start?
No. Oh, no. Think about this. I think this saying is from Japan in origin, but I think it holds true that some of the strongest talents that people have develop latest in life. And if you think about it, like I guess the one that I pointed to when I was younger was Van Gogh didn't really start until he was in his 30s. I still have that frame. Yeah,
we have that frame.
And so the thing about it is you don't know how fast you'll move. Because here's another weirdity. Weirdity? Is that a word? No, oddity. When you're older and you start something, you bring to it usually a certain level of commitment that when I was younger, I couldn't. There were so many things I wanted to do when I was a kid that I couldn't focus on anything. Now, when I learn something, when I go to learn something, it's like I've done this with my kids when we start a new endeavor or something. When I go to learn something, I know how to focus better on it now.
Right.
So I can take something that I've never done before or never used, and I can learn it, and I go much further, much faster than I could ever have done when I was a kid.
Oh yeah. Because
I know how to learn better now, and that's the number one thing I think I've learned in my life is how to learn.
Right.
How to learn.
Right.
Better.
A girl from Venezuela loves your work.
Oh, thank you. That's very, very kind. So some of these things are very minimal and abstract. Some of them get more detailed. I actually did a little 3D sculpt of that at one point, and it hasn't made it into a piece yet. But
did you have a click moment and improve all at once at some point? You have several of those. It's not like you.
Yeah, it's more like I had a period of time where I decided to focus on something, and then because I focused on it, it started happening the way that I had foreseen it happen. Right?
Mm-hmm.
I like when our first kid was born, I realized that if I didn't have a work ethic, because of the nature of the demands of having a kid, I would never get anything done.
Yes.
So I developed a work ethic.
It's like that note, right? How are you doing in quarantine with no kids?
Yeah.
Are you drinking? Can you
Yeah.
nap all the time?
Yeah.
What can you do?
What are you doing?
What are you doing?
And the things that, like, there have been different things at times in my life now where I've had to, like, decide what's important. Like getting sick at one point, I had to decide what are the things that are important to me now as opposed to before I was sick. And I realized that doing the work, obviously being around my family is like the number one thing, or if it's not the obvious thing, I should say that. But other than that, I still found a lot of comfort in doing my work. So that was very important to me.
Yes.
You know, and still is. So when things are hectic, I tend to focus on my work.
Mm-hmm.
You know, when things are slow, business-wise, well, I always focus on my work. So
Yes.
pretty much the answer to anything in terms of what's going on with me is just sit down and work.
Sit down and work.
Yeah. And when I say work, though, remember that as I'm doing this stuff, my mind is very engaged in not just what I'm doing, but I'm having an ongoing dialogue in my head. I think about things a lot.
He does.
On the positive side, I can think my way through problems while I'm working that sometimes people don't have the time or the stillness
Mm-hmm.
to be able to engage with because of whatever, you know, their life.
Mm-hmm.
On the negative side, I can also ruminate on things that like are depressing or sad when I'm working. You know, that tends to be when I just like put something on TV or like I listen to a lot of audiobooks.
Yeah.
You know, because I have the kind of mind that can go either way. And since you teach, you know, I think Stephen King said that as a writer, you teach your mind to misbehave.
Yeah.
And part of the blessing and curse of that is that it doesn't always misbehave in the direction you want it to.
Right.
You know. So I've been talking a lot.
You have been talking. He doesn't talk this much to me, you guys.
Not really.
Is Imagine FX magazine good? No, that sounds bad. We talk. It's just that.
Well, we're
on off
been
hours.
talking since
Yeah, I know.
1988.
That's true.
Yeah.
You're right. It's been a long time.
We've
been around.
We know a lot about each other, but we still find surprises.
Oh, okay.
But anyway,
What
Imagine
you were gonna
FX.
say.
What about Imagine FX?
Is a good magazine. Yes.
I mean, I've at different points had subscription to Imagine FX. They have a lot of there's a lot of technical information there. There's a lot of people, you know. I mean, I think it's a great magazine. You know, you learn these things, the processes from people, so that you kind of can take those things and teach yourself how to be an artist. Because that part of you that is an artist is that's the part that you have to learn for yourself. Right? What are you
Right.
going to say with what you do? What are you going to do with what you know how to do? Right?
What do you like doing?
What do you like doing? All that's not something you can learn, that part of it. You just have to, it's like people giving you all these tools and saying, okay, you have all the tools to be an artist now. You can illustrate, you can render a photorealistic version of something, or you can do expressionistic stuff, so what are you going to do with that now?
Right.
And that's not something people can really teach you. You know, that's something
Right.
that you have to find what you're interested in and do it. you
Right.
know?
right.
So.
I know. I used to
So again, the
upload
answer is to work.
to work.
Yeah.
Go back to work. Always go back to work.
And I don't give people the impression that I live my life in a vacuum, because I probably spend a couple hours a day, you know, gaming, and I spend like time, you know, gaming and playing with my daughter, and time talking with my son and Vicky. we
Yeah,
do
we
things
do
together.
actually talk. It's
We do talk. Yeah, I know you were being funny,
I
but
was being funny.
so,
People will go, "Oh my god!"
So yeah, you don't. I mean, you have to do whatever's balanced and right for you.
Right.
And you have to realize too that maybe you're not somebody that really cares about balance so much, because there's a lot of times when I obsess and focus on things that I want to do.
It's true.
And
that all there's
almost
in there?
everything that I've ever seen anybody do that looked like it was worth doing, they obsessed on at some point. Maybe not for the whole time. But
He's very obsessive.
I can be. I'm not sure if
It's true.
you would call it clinical, but I mean, I can be very obsessive about things.
Oh, there's more behind it.
Yeah, not much though. I don't think there's. This is the last two things.
Mm-hmm. So, draw me something. Play with it.
Huh?
You don't have much more to go. We've got like maybe 15 minutes.
I know.
Oh, so we have a website, Alan Williams Studio, and since we're 99% quarantined, self-quarantined,
Yeah.
everything coming out of here should be clean and clear. We're all healthy.
Yeah. Maybe not mentally.
Okay, so we don't have any viruses, is what I meant.
Well, yeah, you know, but still, No, but that shouldn't.
This
that-
will be uploaded to our stories if you just came in or anything, so it'll be at least on Instagram for the next 24 hours. I used to be able to save it to my phone and then upload it to YouTube, but
I'm gonna say.
Instagram did some stuff, so I'm not sure I can still save it.
Yeah, I'm gonna say this though.
Yes.
No matter how, good, we feel, and when we say that, still use your precautions and stuff when you open any boxes and do anything from people. So it's just a thing.
Yes. He's very safe.
Vicky has but both Vicky and I have done at different points been immune compromised, where what the medicines we were taking made us susceptible to everything.
Right.
And so
me now, you previously.
We sort of had to have been in kind of a sort of a germ isolation before all this started. But now certainly we have to be more careful.
Yes.
So it's hard to know what's being careful and what's being crazy. But
hello from New Orleans.
Hello,
New Orleans. Down the road.
So when I've already done the hand in a way that I like. So I'm basically this part of it. I'm actually being kind of close to the sketch. But I don't want to be, like I said again, I won't be too precious with it when I transfer it, and then when I redraw it, I'll just make sure that I get the same kind of feeling. So it's more about landmarks, like for composition or for rhythm in the piece. So it's not really about being faithful to every single line. If I'm close, I can redraw it on the board the way that I drew it the first time. I can draw it again. I could do it without this. It just takes more time.
Right.
And sometimes you don't want to take more time. Sometimes you do.
Yes, a lot of these live feeds are on our YouTube channel, which is at Alan Williams Studio. And we have a Patreon. I've had it paused, though, for the last couple months because I was in the hospital in November and am still recovering. So
Her foot's getting better.
my foot's getting better.
She has.
My blood's still fucked up.
She has 2 little zombie toes that have black on them.
They are.
But they're getting better too.
That is true. Yes. So you can find it at Alan Williams Studio on YouTube. Our Patreon is just Alan Williams. If you'd like to go over there, and they are on there also.
Mm-hmm. See,
And it says they're inspired from El Paso.
These are I put registration marks on the paper so I could know where it would line up.
Yeah, someone is. What are the benefits on drawing on the transparent paper with layers? This is just going to be.
Well, I do this again. I could have transferred it directly from this or from the other thing, but this is just so I can see where I want to put it on the piece. Because it may change again. Like the angle of the hand may change. Right now I have a lot of stuff on my desk.
So this was a whole. I'll upload the video tomorrow or something of where he had a whole different hand on this and he erased it all and he repainted it today.
Yeah. So I just use this for position and looking at how how I want things to go, and I don't really like so much the way that all the fabric that I'm just making up is falling. So I most likely will shoot some photographs of real fabric, and then alter it to fit what I want to do with it.
Yes.
So
you either have one of the kids or yourself.
Yeah, usually it's me. I have one of those setups where I can take my camera and link it to Wi-Fi and trigger it remotely through a viewfinder, so I can actually put the cloth on myself and pose, and then hit a button and see it as I do it.
So,
So, but.
Do you like Godzilla, King of the Monsters?
I've always liked Godzilla. It was one of the first monsters I saw when I was a kid, right? So, do I like the new ones? I think they're pretty good. It's hard to overcome nostalgia when you look at stuff like that and go, oh, it's better than what I liked when I was a kid. Because when you were a kid, you liked everything, with your whole soul, basically. And it's it's hard to overcome that as an adult, and say that anything that you see. But that being said, and being aware of it, I thought it was a pretty good.
Greetings from Compton, LA.
Nice.
Okay, another person. I know artists are self-critical of their own work. What advice do you give to know when a piece is good enough to be done, and how to know when to start putting your art out there to the public?
that has a lot to do also with what the specifics of the work that you do. In terms of general stuff, it's that's any. I'm going to tell you this. I found most art questions are very difficult to answer with general answers, because specifically the way that my art happens is different than the way that the person next to me. And we could, two of us, be at the same show, and they could do really well, and I could have a really bad show, or vice versa.
Right.
But in terms of what I found, knowing when your stuff is ready is usually more of a matter of knowing when you're just ready to take a chance at failing at it, right? So you have to be able to put your stuff out there and go, okay, that didn't work, and you have to be able to do that. You have to be willing to do that, however many times it takes,
right?
And
someone is always going to like your work, and someone's always going to not like it.
Everybody that you see online, whether you like their work or not, to someone they're their favorite artist.
Right.
Same thing with everybody that you like. Somebody hates that work. You know what I mean? So it all boils down to when, because it's sort of. It's weird to relate it to kids, but there was a time when we thought, okay, well, we'll have kids when we're ready. Well, if you do that, you can make it impossible to have kids, because how will you know until you do something if you're ready to do it or not? My advice is to do it as soon as you can, and then judge from that moment. Like, okay, well, I need to work on this some more, or I need to polish up my business acumen some more, or whatever, or I need to marry somebody that's good at business like I am.
That's funny. But that doesn't work.
Well, not for everybody.
I know. Asshole.
No, but the best thing to do is to do it as quickly as you can, and let yourself get used to the idea that it doesn't have to work perfectly at first.
Or it doesn't have to work for everybody.
And it doesn't.
It's okay.
The thing is that I've seen people that I looked at their work and I said, I don't know how they're making a living. And I've seen other people who can't make a living, and I look at their work and I say, people should be paying thousands for that. It just depends on how you get your work, or when you get your work in front of the right people, and how persistent you are at doing it.
Right.
If you have work that you like, I guarantee you somebody somewhere likes it too. And you just have to find them and let yourself get out there and let yourself be confronted by all these people. There's a lot of people that don't like what I do because they don't like the kind of imagery that I use.
Right.
Right?
Right.
A lot. Way more people don't like what I do than like what I do. Right? And I'm okay with that, and I've even had people come in that have been very insulting about it. They'll come in and say that they think that that my work is possessed or something like that. When I'm like, that's my first thing I usually say to them is, it's not that convenient. I said, evil doesn't have horns, or else we'd be able to see it from a mile away. I was like, evil looks like everything else in the world. It looks like reality, and and it's just that you get used to people trying to limit what you do based on what they think.
Yeah.
And one of the things you have to overcome to be a professional artist is getting really used to people not liking what you do.
Yes.
Until you find the people who do, and in the meantime, keep trying to perfect what it is that you do to the level that you want it to be. Mm-hmm. That's really all you can do.
That's good.
So.
Yes.
But anyway.
We are only on for about 5 more minutes.
So.
I lasted the whole time.
Yeah. This is one of the reasons why we haven't been on. Is you guys know that Vicky's been sick. She had a blood clotting issue that gave her some blood clots that had to be dealt with, and now she's on medication that is very rough, that causes immune deficiency and stuff like that. So we have to be super careful right now, all the time really, but especially right now. So and I have allergies, so every day I wake up and I go, my nose is sniffly. And you never can tell, so you got to be careful all the time. So
right now, right?
Yeah. So I'll do this kind of stuff a lot, And if I don't like, and I can tell you, there's things in this right now that I'm probably going to erase afterwards. Mm-hmm. But you just have to be willing. The biggest thing, in terms of physically sitting down to do work, is be willing to screw it up in order to make it look better.
Yep.
And you got to be willing to trash the entire thing and start over if you have to.
Yes.
No matter, I have had things that have gone, oh, that looks really cool right there, and as I do the piece, I realize that
that's the only cool part.
No, not even that. But that spot that I thought that is really cool, but it's getting in the way of something else.
Yeah.
So I have to get rid of it. And then once I got rid of it, I was like, I realized what was going on with the rest of the piece, because the part that I was focusing on was distracting me from the problems
Everything
with the
else.
rest of the piece.
And
yeah.
this is not just, what is the paper? Someone asked what
This
the transparent paper is.
This is Duralar.
Duralar.
This is a Duralar vellum. So this stuff, you can actually reuse it. Like, okay, so you've seen what I've done here. You can erase this stuff. Like, it'll go back to pristinely clean.
And use and it's a thick
and
transfer.
It's like 20 or 30 bucks for a pad of like 20 or 30 sheets. So it's expensive. So you can reuse it over and over.
He likes to get like 5 or 10 of this at once, and I like go, wow.
Well, I usually get 2 or 3 pads of Duralar at one time, just because, and eventually, you get grooves worn in it, and you can't really use it so much, or it gets so dirty that it takes way more time to.
All right, we're going to be back and do this again.
Promise?
Yes.
Okay.
I'm sitting fine.
Like in about 10 minutes?
Not 10 minutes.
Next week?
Next week.
Okay.
Everybody else is just getting awake in this house, but I am going to sleep.
I will. Yeah, we're all nocturnal now, except for Vicky, but she has her mornings to herself, so that
mornings
works
and afternoons.
I'll draw something next week. Just I'll sit down and do graphite, because it moves faster than this. Because I'm in a place right here with this that I do need to like have quiet focus on it, so that I can do more to it.
Right.
Because right now I'm just like staring at it, going, I probably will go game for a while and then come back to it.
Well, you have to play Water Boy.
I have to play Fire Boy and Water Girl with Maeve, which it's a side scroller that requires you to work together to solve problems, which is really fun.
Cheers from Washington State. Hey, everybody, stay safe.
Everybody,
in New York and Washington, everywhere.
Thanks for showing up.
Absolutely. So this is we'll see how far she gets, and she'll probably be done by next week.
This is I've tried to give myself around a 10-day schedule for most of these pieces.
And everything. Look, if you're interested in any sketches, I'll upload some of these pieces that aren't up there yet. Some of the originals, like this guy. Our website is alanwilliamsstudio.com. And Patreon is patreon.com/Alan Williams, but that's just kind of open right now. What are you doing?
Showing my bone. This is my favorite one. I think this might be a fox bone that was found like in a yard somewhere.
Yeah.
But anyway.
Thank you for the live streams. It's been great watching and listening. Takes my mind off of everything.
Oh, thank you. Me too, by the way.
Yes.
Yeah, and
well, it's good to hear from everybody too.
Yeah. Hope everybody's staying safe.
Yes, and we can like converse with people.
Yeah.
Not in our house.
Yeah.
Not on the phone.
I look fuzzy. I should probably shave.
You look. You're a little fuzzy. All right, let's do close-ups. What else? What else is going on?
I think that's about it. I talked out.
You talked everything out?
Yeah.
All right.
So.
This is my favorite bone. Yes, it is a dog. This spirit animal actually is a... What is it? What did Ruth always say? This?
Oh, me?
Yeah.
She said the slow and moving, the slow loris.
The slow loris.
She said that's my spirit animal, because it's like this big-eyed thing that moves like...
Slowly.
Like
Because of course, you always say the slower you move, the faster you get things done, actually.
Well, yeah. You
don't worry about it going fast.
Yeah, if you don't worry about going fast, eventually you will be fast. Yeah.
Yes, and this will be up, the whole thing will be up under our stories here for the next 24 hours, and I will see if I can save it and put it up on YouTube. We'll see what Instagram has done. It's been a long time, so not quite sure. All right, we will talk to you guys later, and stay safe this week, and enjoy.
Have a good time.
Thank you, Alan.
Draw lots.
Draw lots, yeah.
Yeah.
5 minutes a day, if that's it.
At the minimum.
At the minimum.
Yeah.